Welcome back to Factorio Space Age. My name is Nilaus, and we are here with our masterclass series, which is developing more and more into sort of a base in a book. And it was never even the intention, but I do think that there's a lot of merit to doing it this way. So thank you very much, everyone who's following along with the series, and hopefully getting a little bit inspired on new cool designs to implement. Whether you're going to implement them in my new updated city blocks or in your own design, that's totally up to you. The objective here is to two things: make like a really structured base that we can use, and that has this format of the smaller city blocks, and also just to sort of look at neat tricks and design criteria and design methodology to come up with some cool designs that you can either copy or get inspired by and implement in your own base. So what we need to do at this point is actually, I have just taken a look at what is needed for the rest of this base, and sort of categorized it a little bit into different sort of themes. So what we have at this point, we've gotten up to make the red science and red circuits and the sulfur, so that we could get into the blue science. And that means after this, the blue science is unlocked. So what is the first thing you wanted to unlock when you have blue science? That's of course robots. And the second thing is also like, what else are we missing? So let's have a look at what we're missing, and starting sort of at the bottom of the tech tree of what is missing. Well, we haven't built any solar panels and accumulators. Since we're using it quite a lot, we probably want to make this. This might even be something we're going to make earlier. So it should be sort of the first thing as far down as possible. The rest of this block is reserved for landing pad later on. So solar panels and accumulators. Accumulators require batteries, and also with the ingredients for solar panels and accumulators, you also have the ingredients for laser turrets. So that I always make the laser turrets together with this. And then as batteries, what else is used for batteries used for? Then that's used for the flying robot frames, and that will get us into robots. So those are the last two things that are definitely needed here. That's one kind of robot, and it's the other kind of robot. And we also want to get some engines here, and the reason why we want to have electric engines a little bit more useful is we're going to need to have more rocket silos than we did in vanilla, and we're going to have asteroid collectors, we're going to have crushers, we're going to have thrusters. Those all need a steady supply. So we do need to sort of also build this in a structured way that we can actually get it out. So that is that's how we want to build. So this is kind of one group that's filtered or sort of sorted around the fact that we need batteries. So everything here over there requires batteries, down here requires batteries and batteries. So there's a block that is revolved around batteries. Then we also have to get the rocket components, that's blue circuits and low density structures and rocket fuel. That will probably, since they need to be built in quite a decent size, that will be one block. Then we have all the stuff that now that when we get to the point where we can actually make the robots, then you also need to make the frames. Once you start launching, you're going to make a lot of frames. So then there's some other things that we need, and I think I'll actually categorize it a little bit different. I'll actually categorize it more like this here, because these are the things. There. These are the things here that are needed as soon as we get to space. Maybe not the thrusters, we'll get that. But as soon as we start sort of filling up rocket silos, we need to make the rocket silos, and then we need to make the, what is this called? This is called the landing pad, and then the starter pack and some thrusters a little bit later on, and then the three ingredients for spaceships, and of course a lot of platforms. So all of this is kind of another thing. And then the final thing I want to make in the base, maybe aside from nuclear, but that's another part, is all the stuff that we can only do once we have the first white science, the first space science. So that is modules Mark II, and that is logistics chest. So technically also the thrusters. So that's kind of a way to separate it. So I would say like this is one block, this is one block, and this is probably one block. That's the essence of it, because this part here is just a hub build, so it's going to be small. That means that we're going to be starting up today with making this one. It should be pretty straightforward. It's going to be a complicated build, and we're going to build it over here. The reason why I'm going to build it over here is because I might actually see, when we have only red and green science, then we're still going to use this block for the labs, and then I could already start here into making the solar panels. So we're going to start by making solar panels down here. And that's going to be the first thing. So let's get these down here. We're going to make solar panels somewhere down here. And there is... there's a kind of a definitive way that I'm always doing it. I'm going to put you down here just for good measure. And that one and that one. And oops, you're going to be at the end. That's always how it works. And these designs will just be... Don't want that one in here. And we need lights, of course. And this is something we've built like a million times, so this shouldn't be anything concerning about this. Or that is... We're going to get greens in here. Let me just... There. That will be green. And that just goes in. That's the highest quantity. Then we're going to get the other one. Another one that's going to be... The pair that somehow always really seems to fit together is... you want steel and copper. They really just go hand in hand. So many places, well, the hub mainly, they go hand in hand. So they are going to come in here, not high quantities. And then we just need an outbound over on this side. And that means this should be taken one up. Because this will be our outbound. And since we don't need it for satellite production, then we can just put it back into this part. I think you need to go one up even more. Because then I can get this one inbound as the iron here. Like that. And that will be inbound, inbound, and outbound, outbound. Of course, this will come from somewhere like this. I think we can squeeze it a little bit closer. Yeah, and I think we can maybe also, okay, that's totally not what I wanted. And we can also squeeze it a little bit closer down south as well. Down there. Good. And that looks awful with these locations here. And there we go. That's a much better location. All right, so this is already something. And this will be coming in with batteries from the battery build that we're going to be making in a bit. All right, this looks good. And we're going to take a few of these. One more. There, that should be fine. And then I just need to figure out where I want to build this. And I guess we're just going to make it here. So you need green inbound, and you need that one inbound, and you need batteries inbound, and that will be here. Okay. And then from this perspective here, I need to actually put it into several different locations. The usual part, the easiest part, actually let's take this out, would be I'm going to take solar panels and I'm going to take accumulators. Now this is also fine, except I will eventually want to put some quality modules in here so that I just have a little bit of chance of getting some uncommon and some rare ones, because those are very handy to have on spaceships. And we're going to be assuming that you have those on spaceships. So this one actually has to be changed so that it is only equal to that one. Okay. And then I'm going to have another one over here, which will then be greater than or equal to green. So we don't have this yet, but it... wow, that's really awful inventory. And there, there, and there. This will be filtered for that one. This will be filtered for the green ones. And this will be filtered for there. And lo and behold, we have the first little bit. Done. Happy. How much do we want? I don't know. We can just say... I don't even want to cap this by logistics. I just want to cap it like this. Right, so that was the first thing. Then the next thing is going to be batteries, because that's going to come in here. How close and how close do we want to make the batteries? And I need... There we go, that one. Here, here, and let's look at the batteries. Batteries are very simple. How big do we want it? Like, with these kind of things, I'm going to make it as big as we need, and then I'm going to be adjusting it. For example, we can see this one is using, when it is fully operational, 3.75 batteries. That's quite a lot. And we probably need batteries for other things as well, which will probably overstrain this battery-wise, but that's fine. So that's going to come in and that's going to go out. Because we don't want it on the bus, but we do want it somehow like this. Because it needs to go down here, and it needs to go up for the robot build that we'll eventually make up here. Alright, and then we'll put these on the other side, and then I guess I'll have the same pattern of power poles. Right. Is this a good way? Well, it's a way that uses less space for the design, so I think I'm going to go with it there. And then you are going to be connected, and that means I'm going to get... Yeah, I like these on the outside. There we go. And in, out, out. Alright, so this should work if we just happen to get something outbound, which we will. That one goes out because now we're going to be getting it in here. And that's now, unfortunately, something that's a little bit closer than I like. But if I moved it in, then I'd have to move everything in. And then this one would get a little bit too close to the edge. It'll be on the edge. So it's a little bit of a compromise on how to do this. There's a lot of compromises when I'm so focused on building this. And then I do need a liquid input as well. These are liquid inputs that we will eventually replace with stuff on the bus. And it is now working. Great. And we need lights as well, of course. Light, 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 light. And I'm going to copy this one over to here. And then that will now be a there, there, and there. We're not going to get the final part. We're going to save some space over here because we're going to need it. So how much is this making? 5 per second, which is more than this is needed, but yeah, okay, as we can also see that it's probably not. Oh yeah, here's another thing. It is not actually connected, so I'm going to need to do that. So it's now connected on both top and bottom. Great, so that works. Right, so now the next part is going to be the robots, and that's by far the most complicated one, because the robot is actually going to be in multi-tier. Let's build it somewhere. Let's try to align it to this. That, and is that the right distance? Yes. So this will have to go first into engines, then into electric engines, and then into flying robot frames. You can also see that if I do it 1-to-1 ratio, then this is going to produce... let's actually do this. If they're doing it 1-to-1 ratio, I am not going to accumulate any engine units. I will accumulate... Basically, I will create twice as much in terms of engine units as I need for flying robot frames. So there will be quite a bit of surplus. This is good. This is intended. Otherwise, I'd build it at 2-to-1. But in this case, I actually want to make it like this because then I can actually export it outbound. And that is what we need. So let's get some power poles in here. And you are going to go up here and flip it. No, not flip. We don't flip anymore. We horizontal or vertical flip. Okay, so this is the baseline, and then we just have to figure out how to do everything inbound. So basically the idea is all of these are just going to be sort of pushing forward like that, and then it goes out on a belt of sorts like that here and there. Make robots at this point. And then I will say this is going to need batteries on one side. Not like this. Like that. That's the batteries, and they will now come in here. Good. And lights. Get some lights here, get some lights there. Right, where do we want to start? So that takes care of one thing. We need green and steel. This needs greens, this needs steel. Okay, so we're gonna get a steel line in here. There. That is going to be steel. That can now be put into That one. I think we need to start up here and say this also needs gears and pipes. So we're gonna have to get a gear and pipe in, which is, ironically, it's actually the best place to make it is right here. And that will be that one, and oops. Okay, so I'm gonna get, the reason why is because I don't really need so much inbound here, so that I can very easily make this. And there. Let's get some iron in here. So that comes in an iron belt, and that gets what you need. And I guess I have to make sure that I can get room out here. You're gonna be outbound, and oh, like that? No. That will be connected, so let's do an underground here. There. That works. And there, these two are now happy. They should be making the first stuff. And that means we now get the gears. But we're missing the greens though. And we're missing the lubricant. But lubricant comes out on this side. And lubricant is just magically invented right here, but we do have it somewhere else, so it's just a matter of buzzing it in. Alright, that's 2 ingredients. We need the green circuits inbound as well. And I guess we could make it on this belt here. This would be the perfect, because if I had steel and greens, then this could get the greens and this could get the steel and greens. So this is the perfect one. But what if I just do it in a different way and say this is actually the one that gets both greens and steel inbound? Then you go all the way down here, turn around, and then get back. Something like that. Because then that can be input here, 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 and here. That should get us everything we need. Right. Yes, yes. That one is also coming in. Let's see. This is working. And then it goes into that. Let's have a look. Once this is done, almost done. And then it goes in. And this is now done. And we are finally making that. Good. Now there is one more thing. And that is actually the fact that I also wanted to make this outbound. So I also have to output it right there. I'm going to put that on here because then it kind of fits with this design. It is now going to be a repeatable design-ish. Yeah, repeatable design like that. And there. This is now the repeatable design. Smashing, smashing, smashing. And there are then some there, there, there. Yes. Alright, so this is pretty good. There. You might want a little bit of engines. So just for that, I am going to do something a little bit of a hack, but I do think that it makes sense. Because if you want to make a tank, if you want to make a car for some reason, then it's just nice to have like a single stack that you can just go pick it up. And it won't really do much. It'll just be like, this one is going to work half as fast as it should be. And that is all good. Now, the next thing we want to do, because this is only the flying robot frames, we also need to make sure that we can actually make some robots. So we're going to make some robots here. And they need to be put into the very first roboport that we're going to make. 1, 2, 3. Because I also need this to be available for exporting off planet. So they need to go in here as well. Here, and that one is there. So, and let's get another power line out here. Right. So you need red circuits in and you need green circuits. The green circuits can be leached from up here, so that should be fine, like that. And you can go that one. If I then take, I actually think this has to be going one down, because I do need some kind of built like this. So you're gonna go in here and that one goes over to here. And then you go there. Because this part will then also be red ones inbound. Good. Because I do need the red ones inbound somehow. So the red one comes in, just passes by, and goes in here. And I need another power pole. There. That takes the greens, and it splits evenly between the two inbounds. So I don't know if one of them isn't going to be making more, then that's fine. This one will then be constrained to that less than, I'm going to say 1,000. That's how much I want to be able to export to other places. There, and then these will be slightly different because they will be constrained by what is in the roboport, and that is total logistics bots and total construction bots. I never ever do the available, because then when you do big commands like remove 10,000 trees, then it just keeps adding more robots. So I want a certain amount of robots, and I'm just gonna say 1,000 here. Enable when, oh, I can't remember, was it Y or is it T? Y is logistics. Okay, so Y is less than 1,000. And that one just goes over, and then it just changes to T. And then we confirm that T is indeed the total construction bots. Great. So now we can put them in here into this one, and that will be connected. That will be the first roboport that we built. And then we have it sign like this. It looks a lot nicer. And if we look at it on the map view, look at that. Very, very square and happy. We could make it a little bit more happy by doing something like this. It just has a little bit of offness about it. But this is a really good build that is integrated here. Now, that we could leave it at that, but I think that it's also worthwhile to take a look at another neat design here, and that will be into the blue science, blue circuits, low density structures, and what are they called? They're called whatever. Rocket fuel, yes, here. So we can make those, and because they are really straightforward, these builds. So let's add those as well to this design, so that we get as much done as possible. And that means if we are getting done with this, then we are basically only needing that before we can start getting to space and to volcanoes and to all the other things that are more part of Space Age than this. So, because of course this series will start by making a starter base, and then it'll go onwards into space and into volcanoes, into each of the planets, and try to do some cool designs there. So, right, this is going to be design, and I'm going to have inbound and inbound and then outbound. Why? I just kind of like this idea. And that will be, these are just coming in because they will be the same, and then you're going to be output here. Just get it a little bit away from the start here. And power poles, the funny thing is I can make the power poles here, or I could make it right there. That would actually just solve all of it. There, and this is going to be the blue circuits outbound. The only thing that requires is then that we have some kind of way to do here, here. Something like this. And then this is going to be there. So I get greens in on this side, and I get reds in on this side. Yeah. Greens and reds. So let's get some greens in. And this is, since this is available on the bus, I don't have to design it like this. I can just assume that it's there. That will split like this, and I think we can get closer. I think we can get all the way over to that location. There. And of course we need to just make sure that it is connected. Ooh, I don't like that. This is actually getting a little bit too close. Yep. It's too close. Move on, one over. The reason why it's too close is because I don't have a method of getting this one in. Here, and like that. I could put it on the outside, but I want to save as much space as possible. Then this also needs to come in from the bus. And that's more sulfuric acid. We're very intense on sulfuric acid. Is it working? It should be. This is not connected, so I guess we'll just connect it at the end. That seems reasonable. And let's see, you can put a light in here. This is kind of funny that how well this works. And like that. So how big can we make it? Like that, I guess. That's could make it one more? No, I think this is fine. We also need to figure out how much this is actually going to consume. It's consuming exactly 30, which is one red belt in, and that's all we can do. Because if we look at our green circuit build, it's only 2 green belts in, and some of it is going to be used here. Funny how that calculates power as well. And so this is requiring 24 when it's fully operational, and this is producing 60, so 24 here and 30 here, that's 54, and then all the rest of it also needs a little bit, particularly the hub. But the hub we'll use when it needs it, and then it'll be idle, and then we basically have a situation where if the full red is working and the full green is working, that's consuming all the full greens. That makes perfect sense for us because science isn't really using a lot of greens. You can see only 1.5 for the green science. And then, of course, solar panels, yes, but solar panels is something that it's going to work, and then it's going to be idle. And here, of course, it's also going to be consuming a lot. So we're obviously consuming more than we have, but we won't have everything working at the same time all the time. So that's at least my logic to it. This is a great build. It's awesome. I just need it to be made a little bit closer to the edge. And that's probably good. And these ones I don't like. Guess I do like that. There. And I also kind of want the same thing on the other side. I want them to connect if possible. And then I just need a little bit of a box output. Because we are obviously going to get some blues outbound here. And I don't know if we're just going to do it like this. Okay, so why is it not working? I guess it's just slow, right? This is just chucking along. This is using a full belt. And it won't be used all the time. So here's another thing. You can, of course, and I encourage that, put the productivity modules in. And when you get to beacons, you could actually just put a beacon in here. I just realized that there's actually room for a beacon if you feel so inclined. I don't. That's one more. We're going to save the rocket fuel to the end because that's by far the worst one. Then let's try to figure out this. How close can you make it? That's all the way over. And then how much is this? 14. Okay, so if I have 2 lines of this, it's basically consuming a full copper belt. I like this ratio. This seems good. So we're going to get a ratio in here. And that's going to be that one, and take this out. Yes. So this will be copper inbound, low density outbound, plastic and steel inbound. Let's do that. There. And this one is going to be copper inbound, plastic and steel. It's so much easier to use these because then I can just start working on it immediately instead of... And this is a design that we have done before, so we just need to figure out how to do it. That means this one is going to be gapping, and that one is going to be gapping, and then... Ugh. Yeah, like this. Here, and the middle one will just be a full lane. That's going to be input here. Alright, so grab. Out. In, and in. Get some power lines. That's still a power line. Let's get the power line connected down here. And then I also need a power line here and that. And that means this is the repeatable pattern. Ta-da! Perfect. That's not necessary. And then I use the entirety here. And what is the funny little zigzag? It's probably fine with the zigzag here. Right, and this one will make 1.4. This one's going to make 1.5. And that probably means that we want to make it kind of 1.5 as well. Now this one is just going to be an absolute nightmare. Also, I don't think this is... I think this is too close. I need to move it a little bit down just to make sure that... Let's do this one, so we have more space. There's only one tile between, but we'll spread them out if we need it. All right, so the thing with this is that here you are going to make... You're going to get the solitude, and if I look at this ratio, it is perfect ratio. So we're going to be leaning in on this ratio, ignoring the productivity modules. You might add a little bit of productivity modules, but remember, you only have productivity once, so they don't really make a big difference. So let's consider this. So what I'm really curious about is I want a design that is like this. So it's horizontal and then repeatable. It basically has to be repeatable in 2 dimensions. That means I have to go 3 difference here, and 1, 2, 3. So this is my objective. This is how I want it, and I hope that I can make it. So I'm gonna get, because they all need the same thing. So what if I could get you into here, and then make a line in here, connect, 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 connect. That doesn't work because I need to connect here and here, which would mean that I'd have to connect it over on that side. Well, that's okay. And that would also be out, out. And then, now I see the other problem here. This one is having the issue that it needs to output onto a belt. And I don't want to put the belt on the outside. I want to put the belt like this so that it goes like that outbound. That would be pretty cool. How about these are on the outside, and then like this. This is the outbound. Then I can see that there's definitely a problem here. And if that could be in here, then maybe the answer is that we're going to have like that. And how would that fit on the other side? We would have to figure out a way to get these the same place. That works. Like that. And then I would need to connect them top to bottom. That would be here. And now I don't have any power poles. Oof. Well, power poles can be put right in there. Sweet. Does that work? It does work. Everything is powered. Everything seems to have an output. No, I don't have an output. Crap. It was so close. It was so close. So no power poles for you. And let's see. What if these are here? Because this connects all the way, then this one doesn't actually have to connect all the way. And then you go out. Basically like this. Does that work? Because all of this has to have extra inbounds here, which means that these 2 tiles are necessary on the bottom, but they can be then compensated by the 2 connecting tiles up top as I shuffle things around. I think we got it. I think we got it. Here, 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 here. Yeah, and definitely want to get it a little bit closer. How close do we want to make it? Well, aligning it to the other one seems like a great idea. and it'll also be perfectly aligned on that side. That is a beautiful, beautiful build. I absolutely love it. Good. Let's see if it works, because that's kind of important. And all it needs is just the low density or the light oil. So as... Oh, that was a mistake. Yeah. Then all I need to do is cut this and paste it back again. Then it should keep coming light oil in. Okay, they go up and they go down. And they go up and they go down. Cool. I also need to get some storage here for the other ones while we wait for it to really get into gear. That one and a stack. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna get a stack of each. And I'm just also gonna do that same thing here. Is it powered? No, it's not. Well, you're gonna need to get an extra power here. I also think that this one, now that I look at it, could be spread out a little bit. So there's 2 spaces here. Is that necessary? Yes, it is. And oh, how I don't like that connection. There. And that's necessary. And I am going to put you here, and that will be rocket fuel. And a full stack of that. So, next one is, how fast is it producing? 1.4. So, we now know that our storage capacity or our production capacity for rocket parts is 1.4 per second. Now, that doesn't sound like much, and it isn't. But the key here is that it's continuously working and it's adding a stockpile. And once it has a stockpile, then we can launch many rockets at once and then be ready. All right, cool. So the only thing I'm missing with this is just to hook it up to the bus, and then we'll see. So this is the final build for our masterclass today. What we've done is we've actually been speed building this, and we built solar, we built accumulators, we built batteries, we built laser turrets, and I actually also put a box for the laser turrets now. We built electric engines, and because we're gonna need it, and they go back on the bus. And we built flying robot frames into robots. So we have 1,000 robots of each available, plus 1,000 robots into the robot network. Over on the other side, we built blue signs, we built low dense structures, and we built rocket fuel as well in very, very compact and dense builds. They are super amazing. Unfortunately, they're also just something that's only working here on NAUVIS in the starter base, but once we get beyond that, it doesn't really work. Or it works, but there's always something better out there. And that means we can then move on to the next part in the next episode, where we then make the final hub ingredients part and the getting ready to launch into space and build some rocket silos. So I hope you want to keep up with this series, and of course, as usual, if you are a patron supporter, I have neatly wrapped up these blueprints into a package, a blueprint package. So if you are a patron supporter, you can just download those and put them into your base as you feel like it. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for supporting the channel. Without the patron support, this channel just wouldn't exist. This is how I run the channel. So thank you very much to everyone supporting one way or the other, watching, liking, sharing, subscribing, participating in live streams, all that good stuff. Thank you very much. I will see you guys in the next episode. Until then, take care and stay effective.